Good morning, everybody.
We're together. Look, touch you.
Actually, this might be the first time since before the pandemic that we've done a cup chat side by side. I think
maybe true.
Maybe true.
Maybe.
So we'd have to look to know for sure. But we are very excited to be here today, coming to you from College Station. We're here for another event. So we're here at headquarters, I guess you could say, or the mothership, ready to bring some programming to new agents and specialists later today. But for this morning, we are very excited to be together and to have with us Patsy Inglet, who is the Education and Engagement Chair with Bear Audubon Society. And she's been on before, but your Education and Engagement Chair title is kind of new, right?
Yes.
And so if you'll talk a little bit first, today we're going to talk all about ducks. It's a good time of year to talk about ducks because they're starting to come into Texas. Patsy was sharing with us that Mitchell Lake Audubon has some coming in, and there's a cool opportunity to see them, but I'll let her share that with you as well. But yeah, to kick us off, Patsy, will you tell us a little bit about your background with Waterfowl ID, including the workshop that you teach, if people are interested to get even better at it?
Well, thank you. And I'm very excited to be here because ducks are some of my favorite people. And I've been in love with ducks since I was a child because my father was a duck hunter. And he would take me out in the blind. I never shot any, but he would take me out in the blind and I would look at them coming into the marsh. And it was just such a beautiful spectacle. And then when I became a biologist and my interest in birds developed, I found that there were a great group of birds to start with because they're big and they're pretty easy to see, even though they try to get as far away from you as they can usually. But with a set of binoculars, you can usually see well, and we'll talk about a few things you can look for that are really helpful. And I've been a teacher all my life, even as a kid. And I taught biology, chemistry, and other science courses in high school and middle school. And so it was a natural fit for me to become an education person for Bear Audubon and other Audubon related, anything related to birds. So my husband, Tom, and I go around teaching introduction to birding and all kinds of things. But we had a lot of requests from people saying, well, could you do some classes on just certain groups of birds that, people would like to focus on? So one of the first ones we did was our waterfowl. And of course, that ducks being part of that. And we've done it on Zoom and we've done it live. And hopefully we'll get to do it live again. We were just at Mitchell Lake Audubon Center in San Antonio this Saturday. We teach the Alamo area Master Naturalist bird class. And we have follow-up field trip at Mitchell Lake. And of course, the ducks were just coming in. We had not the numbers that we will have later, but I'll put in a shameless plug right now. If you would like to get close to the ducks and you're around Thanksgiving, Mitchell Lake is going to have a free entry day on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So you can drive over to south side of San Antonio and visit the ducks in person, and maybe some of the things we'll talk about today will help you identify some of our friends there.
That's neat. Super cool.
Well, and it's a really good point that Patsy mentioned about how big and easy ducks are to see, because it's not like when we're talking about identification sometimes with our smaller birds.
A ruby crown kinglet.
Yeah. And
Let's
you're like,
just know fast and see the ruby crown.
well,
yeah,
and it's
that you don't always show.
right. Or you're looking at like eye rings and wing bars and like very slight differences. Like with birds or with ducks, there's some pretty obvious big differences, and they move slower, and they're just, so if you're a beginning birder, this is a great time to be a beginner birder, because the ducks are coming back.
Well, and
I would agree with that.
And we talk about making the case for bird ID, and one of those big ones is shape. And most people at this point in their life know that it's a duck. It's not like you're trying to decide, is it a warbler or a jay? You're not trying to distinguish. Well, jay's pretty obvious.
Like warbler versus vireo.
Yeah,
you're not doing that.
There we
go.
Yeah.
It's a duck.
It's a
When?
duck. Yeah,
Yes.
most people grew up with ducks, whether they realize it or not. We have Donald and Daisy, we have Daffy, we have Beatrix Potter, we have Make Room for Ducklings. And people who don't know a robin from a rutabaga will be able to pick out a ducky thing. But there are some birds out there on the ponds with the ducks that are not ducks. But most of us recognize that the beak is a very important part of identifying a bird. And ducks, most of them anyway, have that ducky beak. And so it's really easy for people to say, I'm looking at a duck or at least a waterfowl. So I'm gonna put a couple of slides up here, if you will allow me.
Absolutely, you should be good.
Just to show you some pictures and share that with you. I'm fiddling around here because I have to go from one screen to the other here. But here we go. I'm trying to find my share screen. There we go.
Now, and Miss Patsy, are we going to talk about beaks first?
Okay, first of all, I just want to show, of course, ducks are associated with water, so that's the background.
Hold on. There you go. We're not, switch your screen that you're sharing.
I'm trying to share my presentation screen.
Which we can see, but I can also see your notes. So where it says display settings, nope, you did it. Go back to share it again.
Okay.
Share it again, and I just want to show you how to get it so your notes aren't up there. Okay. Oh no, now you're good. Okay.
Okay, I just hit the wrong screen.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Pardon me. Okay, but I just want to put the ducks in context really quick because they're in a big group called waterfowl, you know, and it's order Anseriformes or Anseriformes, how you would pronounce it. But basically there's 3 families, but we only have one in North America. The other 2 are either in Australia or South America. And that's the waterfowl of North America. Here's Sibley's waterfowl of North America. And it goes from swans that weigh 30 pounds and, you know, have 10-foot wingspans down to little duckies that are, you know, 1 pound and 12, 14 inches long. So there's quite a variety of these things. And we have quite a few of them. That shows them in flight. You can basically tell that they are, you look at the beak and they both have a ducky beak or a goosey beak or a swanny beak, a waterfowl beak. And that's what you look for first. Now, we don't have very many swans around in this area. They're more further north. Sometimes you'll see an escaped mute swan, which is a, you know, introduced bird. We do have goose hunting, and lots of geese migrate through here. Probably the Canada geese and the snow geese are the most common, but they range all the way down through all these little ducks. Now, not all these ducks come to our area because some of them stay either go past us and go all the way down into Central and South America, or they stay north of us. So most of them breed up in the north, and then they migrate through here. So this time of year, when they're coming through or to our area, is when we have the best chance of seeing them. Now, when you look,
I saw a bunch of geese the other day. I was driving the back road in Fredericksburg, and there were geese there on one of the stopover, I guess. It's right there on one of the little springs. So,
well, you know, one of the most common gooses is snow goose. But if you see a large bird flying and it's all white, wing tips and everything, it's either a swan, which we don't have, or it's some kind of a domestic. Most of our geese that are white have a dark wingtip, and all of the birds around here that have them, because they're long migrators, and that dark color helps strengthen the wing. But we do have.
You can see that on the snow goose, huh? On that image, that black and white image of the snow goose, the tips of its wings are black. Yeah.
Right. Now, in some areas of the United States, you got to know that because you see something and it could be a swan, but here we very rarely see that. But if you look at a group of birds, this is kind of the general rule of identifying birds. You look at this group of birds at the top, and there's some things that are ducky and some things that are not. You see the black and white birds with the pointy beaks? Definitely not a duck, okay? But it's the same. There's 2 different kinds of ducks, at least in this top picture. And at the bottom, there's 2 different kinds of ducks. And so if you want to identify one, you do the 3-step process. You do one bird at a time, and that's true for any kind of bird. You can only look at one at a time. And here we see them pretty clearly close by. So let's suppose I choose that bird. Clearly a ducky bird, right? If we know where to go in the book to look at it, then what do? Or we look at this bird. All of these are ducky looking birds, but one of them looks different from the others. Very different. Two of them kind of look alike, but the other one's clearly different. So if you can go, there's several broad categories that, the difference between a swan and a goose, they have the longer necks and so forth. And then there's different kinds of ducks. There's dabbling ducks and there's diving ducks. There's ducks that walk well on land and that you never see. If you can get them to a broad category, that helps. And then you find at least 3 features about the one you're looking at that will get you down to the species. So that's the general rule for any kind of bird ID. And if you go here, you want to be sure that you're really looking at a duck. Duck, or the last category is not duck, because if it's a swan, it's not a duck. If it's a goose, it's not a duck. If it's a loon with a dagger beak or a grebe or a chicken-looking beak, it could be a coot or a gallinule or something like that. So first you have to decide that, but that's pretty easy. So let me stop that share. Okay, let's see if I can do that. Here we go. Excuse me. I'm having to skip around a little bit in my slide set because these are from I can't figure out how to do that. I can't.
Oh, you're okay. And actually, if you need to stop sharing, I can always.
Okay, stop sharing for me, will you?
I can always make you not allowed to share, and I can stop you
very
sharing.
Good. Thank you.
Or I think normally I can.
Let me see.
There we go. You're good.
There we go. I did it. Yay. Okay.
Yay.
So
pause real quick because I think Emily has a question.
I do. So we always hear in the phrase, like in identifying ducks, like, where's the white?
Oh, wait, I have something before that.
Okay.
I have to say something because I love that you made the point of identify one at a time. Because I think that's something, like, it seems really basic and it seems really like, of course, you're only identifying one bird at a time. But it brings up a really important point that I want to make sure everybody knows about waterfowl. They're often in those big mixed flocks. And like, yes, we see mixed flocks with songbirds sometimes, but a lot of times it's easy because like you've only found one bird at a time. Or if you've got a flock, it's something that's all the same and it's typically in flocks. Whereas with waterfowl, that's really common to have those big mixed flocks, not just of ducks, but other species too. So I just wanted to say real quick that I like that you pointed that out. And then I'll let Emily move into the 3 identifying.
No, but then I still have another question off of your question. So if we talk about that in terms of mixed groups, are we seeing waterfowl mixed groups just on the water, or like do all the ducks fly off together, and do they not have to be from the same family? Do ducks fly in families?
Well, like for migration, they're pretty much going to migrate
together. They're not going to just have a rando join.
Yeah.
They're going to different places.
Right.
You usually see them mixed up on the water, but even on the water, they tend to kind of, because they have different feeding strategies, and let me share this slide here and we'll get into where's the white and how to tell a female duck, because ducks in general, the males and the females look radically different. And the females are much more plain. They're more camouflage because they do all the egg laying and incubation and all that. The males are the big show-offs with all the colorful things. But the good thing is the males and females often hang out together, and even in one type of duck. And so the shape of them is very similar. And so if you can manage to get past the color differences, then you've got an easier thing. So
and that's a good point too for like when it's excuse me, when it's like springtime is a nice time to be able to see like male and female ducks because they're like literally paired up. They're usually together, because when we would fly our surveys over Great Salt Lake, it was always funny because you'd see like down on the water, instead of just ducks kind of spread out, it'd be like they'd be in pairs all spread out. And so if you could tell what the male was, then you knew what they both were. So
yeah, and even but even in the winter, the one species tends to hang out, and if you're fortunate, you can see a male duck and then a female duck. Here, what kind of duck are you looking at? Basically, there's 2 kinds. There's dabblers and there's divers. And dabblers are the ones that stay on the surface of the water and just stick their behind up in the air. We call them, oh, look, there's a duck butt. It must be a dabbler. And they have their legs in the middle of their body, and that's how they feed. That's their feeding. And dabblers are like your regular, most of the wild ducks in shallow ponds or so forth are dabblers. Also muscovies and whistling ducks, which are more land-based ducks, you might say, or tree-based, they also dabble when they feed. So they'll turn up, okay? But then the other kinds of duck is the diving duck, and they go completely under the water to get their food and use their feet to propel themselves. And you have a variety of different kinds. And we call them the disappearing ducks because you look at them and all of a sudden you've got them in your binoculars, and then all of a sudden, bloop, they're under the water and you don't see them anymore. So the mergansers, the regular divers like the scoff, the stiff-tailed ducks, and the eiders. Now we don't have eiders and scoters around here unless there's a hurricane. Sometimes the scoters get blown in, but mainly we see stiff-tails, and some mergansers and some divers. But when you look at ducks,
can we go back, Miss Patty?
Go back, Patsy.
Go, Miss Patty. So this is to me really cool. One of the ducks that I think is just kind of one of those things that I think is very odd, and it may be Maureen's favorite duck. I don't know, but she showed me this. What on this picture, Maureen, is super cool.
Oh, the ready duck?
Yes.
They're one of my favorites.
Insane. And so, like, if you have your field guide out, to me, this is one probably, I don't know, Miss Patty's probably the duck ID expert here, but if a duck has a blue beak, I mean, how many birds at all have a blue or funky colored beak?
Yeah, this
And
picture,
so-
this drawing does not do it justice. And during breeding season, the bill on that ready duck is like blue.
Blue, yeah, very blue, like a blue northern. Well, the only problem with that is in the wintertime when they're here, they don't have a blue beak and they're not ruddy. So
Yeah.
you have to depend. Now in the zoo, the San Antonio Zoo, we have them as in the collection, and they're there all year. And they do get the blue beak, and they do get ruddy, and they do go through their courtship behavior, which is awesome. You just have to go and witness it. He is just, he thinks he's as big as a swan, and he's doing all these different things. But yeah, so if you look here at ducks in general, and you ask about where's the white, in flight, you know, what do they look like when they fly? Well, ducks flap all the time because they're heavy birds and they never stop flapping, so they have to keep up. And only when they start to land do they really stop flapping and land, put their feet out, you know. But if you see them in flight, you see this bright color in the wing. A lot of them have, it's called the speculum. And a lot of times in flight, you can see that even in bad light, especially if it's got white in it. And white, when they're sitting on the water, is very, you know, what I do tell people is that even on a good day, squint your eyes and look at these birds. You see them in silhouette a lot of times, but the white will stand out. It's like it's, you know, day glow or something like that. Now, the nice thing about white, not only can you see it, this is a bunch, you can see where it is on the duck. You know, sometimes it's up in where you see part of the wing. Sometimes it's on the tail. Where's the white is what you're looking at. Here's the speculum. Here's a blue-winged teal, for example, and it has the white, but it has that powder blue in the front of the wing. So those patterns are important. And look at that white on the head. It just screams, I'm a male blue-winged teal, because you see that whether they're flying, if they're flying, and ducks are fast. And if they even fly fast, you see that.
Well, and some of those patterns, if you'll go back to the blue-winged teal real quick, some of those patterns, even though they're going to be it's not going to be the white as bright on a female, that pattern is still there. And so I think that's something that's nice about thinking through where's the white, is that you're not thinking, you know, it's not these other colors that are going to be different male to female. You often still have either white or it's more of like a tan, but the pattern is often still there on females.
They get more to the ecru color.
Yes, ecru. They have an ecru to them.
Yeah. But I like this picture, Patty, and you haven't even talked about it. So I'll let you talk about it, and then I'll tell you why I like it.
Okay, well, I like it too because the shape doesn't change much. But what? The color, you know, I like to block out. I like to make silhouettes because we're very color biased as human beings. and we want to look at color, and if we can't see it, we give up. Well, white, I guess, is a color, but it's something you can see. You see the shape of these birds. Definitely the beak is different, the head shape is different, and the pattern of the white is different. Now tell me why you like it.
I like this as a study tool, not necessarily for being out in the field, but like if you want to work on your bird ID at home, printing off an outline of a duck is not hard. So like Googling duck outline, I'm sure there's thousands for kids' birthday parties, and they're not going to actually look like real ducks, but there would be a duck outline. And then if I wanted to study my where's the white, going through and drawing for me, like, because I would not be able to draw, like, you could try to sketch it, everyone, and good luck, because some people can do that. I'm not that gifted, but printing out a duck silhouette and then marking where the whites are, or if I wanted to be really fancy and I got my journal out, like if I had a whole like birding journal, I would shrink down the duck outline and then trace it through my page of my journal, and then draw and kind of study where the white is, and kind of use it as a tool to study where the white is to identify the specific duck. So I like it as a study tool.
I could not agree more, because this made a big difference. I took the Cornell Lab of Ornithology waterfowl class, and Kevin McGowan is the teacher. He used this slide, and it was like, ta-da! This big light came on, and it helped me so much in the field to identify. And if you look at a puddle duck with its dabbler rear end up in the air and all that, and you look at, this is the quintessential puddle duck right here, the mallard. Everybody's recognizes this guy with his little white tie and his white tail. There's only 2 species of ducks that have a white tail. And the mallard is one and the shoveler is the other. And if you see a bird flying around with a white tail, and of course the mallard has those little cute drake tail feathers above the tail, and look at the white on the wing, it just stands out to you, okay? And of course, sometimes they flap. But it's usually the female that's doing most of the talking, okay? Now, if we look, going back to your point, you look at these birds in color, these are a bunch of dabblers, but you put those in silhouette. What do you see? Not all the colors, just that white stands out.
Well, and it's a good point too, that when they're not in color, you not only do you pay attention to the white, but you do pay more attention to the shape, because your eyes like trying to find something else. And so you can tell that the green-winged teal is more compact. You can tell that the wood duck sits, really upright and proper.
How they sit, yep.
The northern,
look at the difference in the beaks.
Short and chesty, like,
yeah.
So if I were to describe that as a sheep, he has too much front end than other ducks. You see how it kind of
on the pintail? It does.
Yes.
That's funny. I think pintail. So here's the funny thing. So when I learned my duck ID, this was back to, we were doing survey flights on Great Salt Lake, and so I had to learn them all flying. And so it's going to be like a little different what you look for, but pintails are pointy on all ends. So
they're pointy on both ends. They're like a woodpecker.
But they're like, and even their wings are pretty pointy. So they're like the little pointy ones.
Whoa. That leads into a great question from online. So I've been monitoring everyone online.
Oh, good.
Do we have any tips for IDing ducks in flight?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'll let you make your point about the females first, but then if you want to talk
let's
about
do that. But just let me say, in flight, the speculum is very important. If you see that colored pattern, of course, in diving ducks, it's not as colorful.
What's a speculum?
You weren't listening. The little color, the wing bar.
It's the color in the wing.
I was listening, but somebody online might have missed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I used a term and I was explaining it. It's a color pattern in the wing that you can often see in flight. And I'll show you one in just a minute. But these are the females of those same ducks. Here's these. Here's these. They don't have as much white. They're plainer, remember? But they still have some white clues. Now I'm going to put them up side by side. Look at here. The shape, look at the shape. Even if you can't see the white, if you get a male and a female together, that's called sexual dimorphism, and they look different, but you know what? The shape is very similar. especially if you look at the beak and the head. So ducks hang out with the two sexes hang out, and you hope you have a male. That helps to be able to identify the females. Okay, but some of the females still have the white. Now I'll show you. Okay, let's just do one real quick. Here's a dabbling duck, and you see these silhouettes that show the white. And you've got a white in the middle of the forehead, you've got a white right behind the tail area, and you've got a white kind of a tucked in his little back pocket right here.
Emily wants to make the ID.
I know. And I'm terrible at identification.
All right, so what is it?
Figure it out with the silhouettes there. That's so helpful.
Yeah, she whispered it to me and got it right before you
Okay,
showed the
very
answer.
good.
So I'll vouch that Emily knew what it was.
Do I get a prize?
You do get a prize.
Oh,
Even if you've never seen this bird before. Looky here. How about this one? This is really a plain dabbler.
Okay.
What has it got? Whoa,
Wait.
It's got a back pocket hanky. Where's the back pocket hanky on here? Okay. Now they don't always show that because that's in the wing, and sometimes they have their other feathers on top of it. But if you look at diving ducks, a lot of them are Oreo cookies. They're dark on either end and they're lighter in the middle. And I always think of them as Oreo cookies. And sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's white, but they're really a study in black and white. And the white really does. Like buffleheads are white on the water all the way around. You know, so as you mentioned, it's a great study tool. You can come up with all kinds of ways to remember which is which. You know, now here's the females. They're not as many, but look at, they're still white. There's still white there that we can use.
And some of it, I think, too, a good point, like I was saying on the females, sometimes it's going to be a little bit like different color. Like if you look at where the white is still pretty similar. Like on the ringneck ducks, the female does not have that white patch near her chest, but she still has the white near her bill. On the ruddy duck, her white is broken by that black line, but she still has the white on the face. So I think that's a good thing to pay attention to.
Yeah, you're demonstrating here. You compare and contrast the male and the female, and then you compare and contrast the other diving ducks. And of course, these are the ones that are going to disappear on you. So let me just show you here. Here's a diver, very common in our area. And it has gray on the side, black on the top, little white finger of white, and then white around the beak. If you look up here, which one is it?
Okay, hold on.
Hold
Emily
on.
wants to answer, but
I
make
don't
sure she
want
can
to
see all
answer.
the options.
But
Oh, you don't want to answer.
I don't want to answer. But as this is up online, I think we should have a moment of commenting if you can identify the duck on Facebook.
Okay, so we're gonna pause and everybody look at this duck, and if you identify the
duck
on Facebook.
Comment with what the duck is. Come on, Mary.
Okay, and
Is
I will
anybody
say
sticking their neck out?
yeah, we've got to wait and see if anybody's going to be brave and identify it. While we're waiting, I will say too, as we keep talking about where's the white and what you can see in flight, sometimes in flight, it's actually really nice because it gives you, like the wing gives you more areas of white to get to see. So there's certain things like on this duck, you're not going to necessarily see the color of the bill, but you can see where the white is on the wings. And so I think that's where you can do the same thing that Emily was talking about as far as like the silhouette of a duck and color out where's the white. If you have a field guide and you can look at the ducks with their wings open, do the same thing, just like color it out and be aware of where those patterns are on the wings. Because that's what in flight for me, a shoveler goes light, dark, light, dark, light. Like it's got that, or did I do that backwards? Dark, light, dark, light, dark. So it's got like that pattern of the black and white that you can see as it's flying. So,
right, and everybody needs to work out kind of their own memory,
their own
how
way,
to do it. Yeah. Did we get an answer?
We did get an answer, so thank you, Lori, for commenting, and we are so excited he got it right. It is the ring-necked duck.
Woo, good job, Lori.
Yeah, and whoever named that duck, I'd like to meet. It was a long time ago, but seeing the ring neck is almost impossible. It's only in breeding plumage, but you can see that white. And as you pointed out, if you look at the female, she doesn't have that little finger of white, but she's also, she's got all the white, and she has a little white eye ring as well. So
It's more like a ring-billed duck. That's who. That's
should
what
be
they
a
should
ring. I don't know. Fire that person. I think they're probably long dead. But if you look at this bird, which one is this one?
Ooh, do you want to do it on Facebook or do you want to do it?
Got a little
Ooh.
light, but then it's got a little dark streak in the middle of that.
I vote it's a female ruddy duck.
Bingo. And so see, once you get into this thing of looking for the white and really studying the birds, it does take, anytime you try to learn a particular group of birds, that's why I teach them. It makes me study. If I'm going to teach somebody else, I have to really understand the patterns myself. And so it makes me study. And every year when the ducks come in, I review. Because, you know, it's been a year since we've seen them, especially flight patterns. That's where my dad really excelled, because he could do those ducks in flight, because he was one of those hunters. So this is kind of, I know we're almost out of time here, but this is kind of a teaser. We do have a waterfowl identification workshop. It's about 2 hours, and we go through the common ones in our area and point out the patterns for you and that kind of thing. But we don't have one scheduled yet. We usually do them in January or February, usually January. And when we do, I'll let you know when the schedule is. It'll be on Zoom. But don't forget, the best place to look and test yourself is, and if anybody wants any of these resources after the workshop, we furnish some of these silhouette things. These are all from, most of them are from Cornell. And as long as we're using them for education and we're not selling our course, but they do have a wonderful class online, and it's worth everything that you need to pay for it. And once you buy it, it's yours forever, and you can review it every year, and you can look at all the wonderful resources that Cornell Lab of Ornithology has. So we'll let you know when we're going to have a local, you know, the local critters, waterfowl, and we hope you'll join us. And we hope you'll come out to Mitchell Lake on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. A lot of us, there'll be people out there who would have spotting scopes, and they can bring those ducks right up to you, and you can see a lot of things that are hard to see when you don't have that extra little boost. That's why
the spotting scopes are a good point, and especially if you're going to do waterfowl, sometimes you can get to water, you know, like you're not necessarily going to be hauling your scope on a walk. So it can be a good place if you have a spotting scope to go set up. But I'm also going to say, so go to Mitchell Lake Audubon Saturday after Thanksgiving. Also, Patsy, do y'all have San Antonio Christmas bird counts times? Are there any of those?
Yes, we do.
Ducks?
We have the 19th of December is the count for the Bexar County circle. And I'm also excited to say that we are looking into making a second circle on the east side of San Antonio. We have, we're kind of field testing it this year, and by the next year count, we hope to have a count that includes some of the other lakes. And so guess what we're going to be seeing? And you know, on those bigger lakes, we've had some rarities show up, and those are always fun. So the ducks are
and I'll put in a plug as well. So Uvalde Christmas bird count is on the 18th. So you can come do we don't overlap, you can come do ours and then go do theirs. And we do have, I don't know that Mrs. Bader and I will be willing to give up the fish hatchery section of that circle, because it is fantastic and there's so many ducks, but we are certainly willing to share. So if somebody
it's a good
wants
place to go after, you know, another time. Can you
it
get
is,
there?
yeah,
Is it open to the public?
Yeah, the fish hatchery is open to the public. And so if you're in Uvalde, or if you're in San Antonio and just want to see something new, the Uvalde Fish Hatchery also has some awesome stuff like in the fish hatchery if you take a tour and want to see some endangered species, because they're a fish hatchery that's like designated for endangered species management. But they have ponds still that you can find. Pappy and I on like a relatively average morning had 40 species in an hour and a half, maybe. Like it's good there. So highly recommend Uvalde Fish Hatchery.
Definitely
and
worth
just
a
come
drive.
do Christmas bird counts with us. So
Okay.
Well, everybody, I loved Miss Patsy's. We are into the day of Wednesday, so we are going to kind of wrap it up. We do have a special announcement, and I don't know that it's really special, but we have an announcement to make.
Okay.
So do you want to make the announcement and I'll tell them why?
Yeah, Emily and I have made the very difficult decision. This time of year, we should be thinking birding the border and getting planned and getting everything ready to go. But unfortunately, we're going to cancel birding the border for 2022, due basically to the lodging situation in Del Rio. So because of increased law enforcement presence, there is basically 0 rooms, like basically no vacancy. When you see a room come open, it's like $200 a night. And so
and there's nowhere to drive. It's not like you can drive from San Antonio for the day. I mean, it's a 3-hour drive from San Antonio. The next closest hotel is 30 minutes and it's full.
And those are full. Uvalde's full.
The hour down the road with Uvalde, we just have an increased law enforcement presence on our southern border. And at this time, we can't, we don't expect that to change based upon what we are hearing. And to add 75 people to
Del Rio,
we just can't ask y'all to do that with no lodging. So we would be super excited to host if we had places for y'all to stay. But there is just nowhere to stay right now in Del Rio.
But we never do nothing.
That's true.
So
heaven forbid we take a year off.
Stay tuned because we're going to do something. And there will be something somewhere in Texas with birds. Stay tuned. And us.
We will be there. So if you've already made your reservations at a hotel, we hate to have you cancel those. But those, I don't know if anyone, I know we've had some people who made an RV spot, but the place they made an RV spot actually just sold to the national bird. Oh, okay. I'll have to follow up with you. If you're watching, I will call you to make sure that you didn't book a RV location. I mean, like the whole RV park sold to the National Guard, so it is no longer a public RV park. So, fun facts about Del Rio today.
Yep.
But we are.
Go ahead, Patsy.
I just have one last slide I want to put up before we leave.
Sorry.
Because it sums up my feeling toward ducks, and it also gives my email if anybody wants to know more about when we have our workshop or so forth. And
please do.
I want to tell you how much I appreciate being here. And
we love our dabbling ducks. And Emily and I actually made up a dance move last weekend at the Texas Master Naturalist Conference.
You have to stop sharing the screen.
That's right. They can't see us. But I'll let everybody make sure they can see Patsy's screen and her email with engagement@bearaudubon.org. That is adorable. And we will end. Emily and I are going to contribute to this dabbler picture here with our dabbling dance move. So.
All right. I'd like to learn that.
I think you'll have it down already. Maybe this should be this little Birding the Border 2023 is going to get really ambitious. There's going to be like a final night with a dance and everybody has to do it.
Sounds like a TikTok to me.
TikTok dance. Patsy knows what TikTok is. Oh my goodness. I bet Maureen doesn't even know what TikTok is.
I know what it is.
I'm sure she doesn't. She says she does, like OG and all these things, but I'm really sure she doesn't. So anyways,
thank you
everyone
so much.
Have a happy Wednesday. We are sorry about canceling Birding the Border. We just couldn't at this point make that decision. We couldn't make that decision and know that there was the chance that there was not going to be any lodging. And we also don't want to take the lodging from our law enforcement. So it's a two-sided story. It was a very difficult decision. But we enjoyed everyone on Cup Chat. Patsy, everyone really loved using the silhouettes to ID. Everybody try to study a little bit on your duck ID. You never know when we might have a giveaway on a random duck ID on Facebook. So.
Okay, thanks so much. Have a good evening.
Patsy.